ready?
It's not like the Celtics are playing tonight, right?
Sorry.
Just putting it out
Let's
there.
move along then. All right. I will call to order this meeting of the Somerset Berkeley Regional School Committee at 6:37. Due notice having been posted. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions may be made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Do a roll call of members present. Ms. Ferrero.
Here.
Ms. Ramos Gagliardi.
Here.
Mr. Machado.
Here.
Ms. O'Brien.
Here.
Ms. O'Brien.
Here.
The chair is present. Absent this evening are Mr. Fenstermaker and Ms. Solomon. Also with us this evening are Superintendent of Schools, Mr. Jeffrey Schoonover, our Director of Business and Finance, Mr. Ronald Taro, our Reporting Secretary, Ms. Robin Caro. That's it. If you're able, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next regularly scheduled meeting of this body is Tuesday, May 23rd at 6:30 p.m. in the Somerset Berkeley Regional High School Library. The first item on this evening's agenda under budget and financial is the audit report overview for the year ended June 30th, 2022. Our CPA, Mr. Anthony Rizzelli. Mr. Taro, do you want to?
Yes, so Mr. Rizzelli, Rizzelli and Clark Associates is the CPA firm who handles the region audit report. Luke is here obviously in the Zoom meeting to be able to go through any questions and discuss the management letter and just give you a general overview of the audit report. If there's any findings, he'll tell you good, bad, or indifferent. So that's your role as a school committee, so you know what's going on as far as the district finances. So Rizzelli, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Tony, can you just give us 1 second? Tony?
Hey, Tony, just going to interrupt 1 second. We're getting a pretty bad echo here. Yeah, what I may do is I may call you by my cell phone. I'll put my cell phone on if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, turn my speaker off.
Okay, thanks.
That just worked.
Yeah, because
Yeah. I showed up, yeah.
You know what, I think what has to be done is you have to mute your computer and then that will work.
Hey, Tony, try one more time.
Is that now?
No.
You
No,
need to like turn the volume off.
Turn
your
the
volume
volume
down.
You don't want to mute that. You need to turn the volume.
Hold on 1 second. Just try one thing. Try one more time. No, this is control. All right, Tony, I'm going to call you on the cell phone.
Okay, you got me. Yeah.
We got echo within the echo.
Okay, so which is all on you. When you are mute, and then I can talk.
Yeah, yeah.
On the Zoom call, you're still on your microphone.
On the Zoom call? Okay.
There we go.
I think, does that work? Can you guys
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Question is,
Okay,
can
that's perfect.
can you all hear?
Hopefully you don't have it on your end, so.
All right, they're not able to hear, and unfortunately,
We're
this is
gonna
public
go, we
meeting,
got it, so
everybody has to
let's
hear.
go forward.
What if
Do
we,
I just
So,
need-
what if we move the phone?
If you haven't heard me, I'm gonna start with the balance sheet, for the district. And, the balance sheet, which I have opened as a shared screen, is, broken up into four areas, four funds. You have your general fund, which is the operating fund of the district. Then we broke out the circuit breaker because it's such a big fund, it needs to be broken out. So you have your circuit breaker fund. You still have a little bit of money in that high school building project fund, and they like us to break out any construction projects in their own fund. So you still have a little bit of money left in that fund, so that's why it's broken out here. And then your non-major funds is just a bunch of all the other things, all the special revenues, the school lunch fund, the special education grants, all that sort of things goes into this next fourth fund. The most important fund really is the general fund, and you can see that the cash balance is very healthy, approaching $4 million at the end of the fiscal year. Incumbent against that cash balance is about $1.5 million in liabilities. So you've got a cash balance of $3.8 million, about incumbent by a liabilities of about 1.5. Basically brings you down to what's called the unassigned fund balance. And the unassigned fund balance is plus or minus what the DOR looks at when they're doing your E&D calculation. So you ended up with $2.2 million of fund balance, and I believe this year, in fact I know this year, you went over the 5% cap, so there was something that had to be done with that, just went over the 5% cap. So in fiscal 23, you have to address that, because the regulation is you can't go over 5% of your expenses or your budget in your unassigned fund balance. Are there any questions on that particular fund, the general fund, while I'm on it? Okay, the next fund, if there's no question, is the circuit breaker fund. That has about $800,000 in it. The school can basically use that on whatever they choose. It's anything school related. It's almost like a stabilization fund. The one caveat is you have to spend that entire balance in the next fiscal year. So you have to spend all of that in the next fiscal year, and then the new one becomes the carryover into fiscal 24. So this amount here has to be spent in the next fiscal year. The high school fund, which was a $60 million project, still has $500,000 left in it. We've had some back and forth on this, and you start to run into a little arbitrage when you hold it out for too long. So I believe, Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, that there are some pet projects related to the high school that this can be used for going forward. It can also be used to pay down some debt, up to $50,000 a year if need be. And then this last fund, like I said, it's probably made up of about 30 funds, so a bunch of just small type funds. And there's about $1 million of just multiple funds in this last column. Okay. Now we'll go to the income statement. And basically, income statement is revenues and expenses. So in the operating fund, the revenues were $21.4 million. Included in that number, because that's higher than what you're budgeting or forecasting, included in that number is the math teacher's retirement that the state pays on your behalf. So what we have to do is add it as a revenue and also add it as an expense. So it looks like you're inflated over what you budgeted, which is not really the case because it's just an in and out. So your operations, and this is why your E&D went up so much, resulted in a net change in fund balance of about a little over $400,000. So a little over $400,000 was as a result of your E&D. And like I said, the result of your operations, which increased your E&D. And you can see it went from 1.8 to
Yeah, Tony, just to confirm, the excess of E&D has already been distributed back to the member communities, and the school committee doesn't have any questions up to this point.
Okay, super. So that's been taken care of. And that happened quite a bit across the state. There was some of my other districts had the same issue where they were unable to fill all their vacancies. And I think that's what happened with you, Ron, is you guys were unable to fill your vacancies, which caused those expenses to be under budget. So that did happen in a few of my other districts where they had to give more back than they normally do to the member communities. Okay, so let me go to the see if I can find the management. Probably gotta go ahead and get it in my vehicle. Okay, I just brought up the management letter, which is the second phase of our audit. This is when we're done with our audit, we kind of circle back and say, you know, what observations can we make? What can we criticize? What can we advise the district to do things better in the future, or are things coming up that the district should be aware of? So in the management letter, I usually break it up between informational items and findings. So the informational items, we like to do a discussion of your long-term obligations. And your long-term obligations are kind of hidden obligations that you don't really see because they're not debt. But your other post-employer benefits, which is the amount that employees are earning as they earn employment for the district, you owe them health insurance at the end, a portion of their health insurance at the end of their employment when they retire. So that liability is being earned as it goes during their employment, and you have to report that. So the liability is about $7 million. You'll see here. You have an actuarial study done, which determines when your people are going to retire, how many people you have, what your health insurance costs are going to be, how long these people are going to live to. And because we're living longer, which is great news for old guys like myself and Ron, you know, it's not good news for the cities, towns, and districts because that liability gets bigger. It allows people to collect that health insurance portion a lot longer. So we're seeing those numbers get bigger each year as those life expectancies go up and as the cost of insurance goes up. So your OPEB liability is about $7 million, and it did decrease this year. And one of the reasons it decreased is because you actually made a nice contribution of $350,000. So we were very happy to see that because we've been recommending that you make some sort of contribution every year towards the OPEB liability. So it was really nice to see that. So hopefully that's something that you can do each year until you start to really start to put some money away in your plan assets, and then those plan assets start to earn revenue themselves through interest earnings. So that was good to see, and you know, I applaud those efforts. We have been talking about that for a while. And for regional school districts, it's difficult to get that into your OPEB. Next is your pension benefit. The pension benefit is broken up into two parts. You have the part that the state pays for you, all your teachers. So that's really not a liability of the district. It's paid on behalf. It's basically a grant. The teachers pay into the teachers' retirement system, and then the state does their match. The other piece is the piece that you pay towards the Bristol County Regional Pension System. And that's about $2.7 million. And that also decreased for the fiscal year because it's measured by calendar year, and 21 was a very good year for the financial markets. And that's how these pensions basically earn their income, is through the financial marketplace. So I do expect it to go up a little bit, probably in the following year, because 22 wasn't as great of a year. But it looks like Bristol County is finally getting on target with their funding. You can see that they're at 72% funded, which is about the state average, and for years it was lower than the state average. So Bristol County is starting to catch up. So those are your long-term liabilities. Next, we want to talk about investment income. So we've all been hearing about the Federal Open Market Committee raising interest rates and to combat inflation, and these costs are getting out of control, so they got to increase interest rates to lower spending. Well, what's happened is the flip side of that is when you increase interest rates on the borrowing side, the investment income goes up also. So at one point this year, the short-term T-bills were earning over 5%. So much better than the 0.5% or the 0.25% that you're earning in your savings or checking accounts. So just put this in here as an informational item to pay attention to that, because you could actually increase the amount of interest income significantly over what you've earned in the past. And I'm not sure how long this is going to last for, but I would say for at least the next 18 months before they start to come back down, in my opinion. So a nice way to earn a little bit of extra income on your cash that you have. Any questions on that page? Okay, next, these are just annual reminders. We always put this in, the network security annual reminder. Just stay vigilant, keep your employees trained, make them aware of things that come in on their emails that they shouldn't be clicking on. And that's the best way to combat these sorts of things. So just keep that going in a strong manner. I think the district has improved that in the last year, so that's good to see. And then fraud prevention. Again, just do little mini audits of your cash handling areas, areas where you collect money. Hopefully, you're migrating more to an online system in most of your cash handling areas, like most of the other regional school districts are. So that'll mitigate any issues with the collection of cash. But look at how cash is turned over. Is it turned over timely? Is it reconciled? Do the cash handlers maintain their own records? But those are the sorts of things that you should be looking at when you go through your annual cash handling audits that can be done either by the Treasurer's Office or by Ron's office. Okay, and the last item was a finding on your federal grants. So this was the first year in a long time that the district actually qualified for a single audit. And what qualifies you for a single audit? If you earn over $750,000, you're required to have a special extension to your audit called a single audit. It's an audit for the federal government. So we send a whole different set of reports to the federal government. So this was the first year in a long time that we had to do that. There was one finding which I thought was great, because normally when we come into a single audit situation for the first time, there are multiple findings. So I thought this was very good. It was easy to fix, but basically it related to when you have one employee doing multiple functions, you have to track how they charge into the grant and make sure there's control over how they charge that money to the federal grant versus the operating budget versus maybe a state grant. So those controls weren't great. They have been, I believe they've been fixed at this point for Ron's response to the single audit. So we don't expect this finding to exist in the fiscal 23 audit. And with that, I believe I've finished my end of this presentation, and I'll take any questions if you have any.
Questions? Just make a comment. I just want to
Tony.
compliment
Yep.
Ron and his staff for, this is an exceptional.
Can you repeat the question for me, Ron, as it comes in?
Yeah, it's about me, Tony. They want to fire.
No.
No, actually, they just commended me and the finance team for the job that we've done with the audit report.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a breath of fresh air. I know there's been findings in the past. I know there was some acclimation period for you coming in from Rhode Island, getting used to Massachusetts rules. And I think this was by far the best audit so far. It was very clean, it was very streamlined, and I really appreciated the efforts of you and your financial team in putting this together. And look forward to 23.
I do as well.
And then I just have one question.
In regards to your recommendation to look at opportunities to increase interest income, and you want to talk
Yeah,
about that?
I'll repeat it, but go ahead.
My question, I think, is for Tony, but also for the larger committee. I know that would that fall under the treasurer for the district to kind of manage those investments? And I thought at one point, a few years back, we were looking to develop an investment policy. I'm just wondering if that was put in place or if we need to revisit it. Is that something that the budget committee does?
So Tony, Mrs. Gagliardi's question was, should we have an investment policy, and who is the responsible person for making those investments? I'll answer that question, it is the treasurer who's responsible for making daily investments. And I believe there may be a draft policy in place, but that's something I'd have to circle back with Mrs. Albanese to see what she has and maybe present it back to the school committee. But I think she's made some diligent efforts with making some better returns on investments, especially with the rising interest rate market.
Yeah, I think this came up a couple of years ago as a comment when the interest rates spiked. I think like back in 2018, there was a little spike in interest rates, and the school committee had wanted to address the investment policy because at that time there really wasn't one. And I thought that one kind of started to getting drafted, and then the interest rates went to zero with the pandemic and everything. So I'm not sure. This spike kind of just blindsided us, this big spike in rates. So I thought I saw something, I think to correct wrong, like in a draft format. I don't know if that was ever finalized. But it would be a good idea to do that. Just take a look at what's been done so far and present it at a future meeting, and email it to myself also. In the meantime, hopefully Lindsay is looking at the treasury. Who do you use as like an investment bank? Is it Rockland or Bartholomew? Which one do you use?
I think, I don't want to speak for her, but I think the majority may be Rockland.
Yeah, Rockland's got a great treasury program there that they are getting a lot of their clients into, so they may have already spoken to Lindsay. I know they were reaching out to everybody on that. So yeah, but it's a nice little chunk of change at the end of the day. You got $6 million in cash. Probably half of it is spoken for, but what I recommend my clients do is do a cash forecast and determine what the excess cash at the end of each month will be over a 12-month period, and invest what you feel you can invest without disrupting your liquidity, because you do have some big bills and you have payroll and all that. You want to make sure you have liquid cash. But there's certainly, based on the amount of cash you have, there's certainly an amount that you can invest, I believe, and earn a fairly decent interest rate. So that's something that I definitely would have Lindsay take a look at. Maybe you can help her out, Ron, and see what can be done with that. So
Thank you.
That's the big thing. A lot of the communities are jumping on that because it is a nice little, probably a short-term phenomenon before we're back to the crazy 1%ers again.
Any other questions or comments?
Any other questions?
I think we're happy.
No other questions, Tony. Thank you very much for your time and the review of the audit report.
Super. Thanks, Ron, and we'll see you shortly.
Yep, I did, Tony, before you leave, the school committee was, when we were entering into the contract again, just so you know, Tony will be having a new audit lead on our audit this year, just to change things up a little bit. So we'll have a different set of eyes looking at the audit report, just like it's almost like a different firm looking at it. We'll have a new person coming in, so if you want to add anything to that, Tony.
Right. For 23, we're going to assign a different manager to the account. It's good to switch up. I think this has been about 6 or 7 years, so it's good to switch up the eyes. I'll still oversee, like from the top, But in the trenches, we'll have different people looking at different things, and it's always good to switch it up. I think once we get to the point where it looks like it's streamlined, we need to bring someone else and say, it's not streamlined. just joking. But we do need to, like I said, switch it up and rotate. So that's what we'll be doing for 23.
Thank you very much.
Tony, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ron. We'll talk to you. Have a great night, guys.
Bye-bye.
So we'll make that following up with Lindsay and policy. The next item on the agenda is the public hearing on school choice participation for the 2023-2024 school year. I need a motion, I can just open the hearing. I'm just gonna open the hearing on school choice participation. Is this the one?
Okay, thank you. As you may recall from previous years, we've been trying to maintain about 250 students per grade level, and it goes up and down each year. I think this year we have just over 230 seniors right now, 233, 234, something like that. But then our junior class has 265, 270. But on average, we've been maintaining about 1,000 students each year at the high school, which was what the building was designed for. Next year's 8th grade, or this year's 8th grade classes at both Somerset and Berkeley Middles are a little bit smaller than what we've experienced in the past few years. We currently have 198 students at Somerset Middle, and then we usually have somewhere around 35 to 40 students who choose to go to Diamond or to Bristol Abbey. So looking at that, our historical numbers there, I'm estimating about 160 students from Somerset Middle will be entering the high school in the fall. Berkeley has a smaller 8th grade class as well, and they're projecting about 50 students to be coming to us next year. So just right off the bat, we're looking 210, and we always get a few extra students who enroll over the summer, so I'd say about 215 students or so would be entering, not counting school choice. Historically, we've had about 15 students only open to incoming freshmen. And if we stick with that, it'll give us a freshman class of 230 compared to outgoing seniors of about the same size. We've maintained enrollment right around 1,000. Just so you know, looking ahead to the other classes, enrollment does fluctuate quite drastically from year to year. With the 198 students just in Somerset Middle and 8th grade this year, we have 213 7th graders, and then it drops to 167 6th graders. So the enrollment is up a year from now, down a year after that. So my recommendation is the same as it would be each year, just about. Sometimes I've recommended 10 if it's a large class size, but my recommendation to the school committee would be for 15 grade 9 students, which would put us at about 230 freshmen next year.
You mentioned there, right now you have 235 seniors, 265 juniors, which will be the seniors for next year. Or did I?
Actually, let me pull that up really quickly so I can tell you the actual numbers from today. We have 235 seniors, actually, I'm sorry, it's 248 juniors, 234 sophomores, and 262 freshmen. That was the class I was thinking of. So we have currently today's plus 12 other students in our 18 to 22 program. We have 991 students attending Somerset Berkeley today.
question. For our 7th grade class right now, what is it at?
Let me see, I may have, actually, all right, so I transposed 6 and 7. We have 198 8th graders, 167 7th graders, and then it jumps to 213 6th graders.
So we're looking at about 160 coming in from the Somerset side and about 50 from the Berkeley side, correct?
Yes.
For this coming year. So that, and with your
And
additional.
then, so we always have a few other students who transfer in over the summer.
So we're looking at 230, which is about the same as the outgoing class of our seniors. But for the following year, you said how many
167.
167.
That class would be under, I don't know what Berkeley's numbers are, but that could be a class of about 200 students, if not less.
Yeah, when I'm looking at it as, I'm almost tempted to ask you, how do you feel about having 25 open positions this year? So next year we won't have 40 positions open, seats open. I hate, yeah, and it would still be under 1,000 students, obviously, we may go a little, but I'm just thinking, I would hate to have 20% of our upcoming 7th grade class, or our current 7th grade classes, to have 20% of this classrooms all school choice from other areas. So I kind of want to narrow that. That's my only concern.
It's one of those things, and I called Dr. Brelsford about this yesterday, just to get her opinion on, in looking at these numbers, forecasting for the next few years. And as you know, Mr. Machado and Mrs. Farrar, the numbers drop. I'm looking at elementary numbers, K, 1, 2, and 3 right now. The biggest class is 167, the smallest class is 143. So it comes to the point, how much do we want to rely on school choice to maintain that enrollment? And it's tricky because we've been trying to maintain that 1,000, but then do we want 25% of our class to be school choice? That's a, I don't know how I feel about that. It's a tough situation. I know some districts have relied heavily on school choice to maintain their enrollment. I don't know. It's difficult.
It's actually good information to, because I've heard out in the community, we're getting too big and we're going to run out of space. But based on those enrollment numbers in elementary school, that's not the case at all.
But we are seeing our next year's kindergarten enrollment is projected to be one of our largest classes in years. And then once a middle school is open, will that also help drive some enrollment changes again? I don't know, but we have seen other districts around us really lose about 20% of their population in just the last few years. Dayton Hovis is down, I think, under 700 students now. Case and Seacom a little over 500 each. So enrollment is really down in a lot of schools, and we're the only ones who really maintain that 1,000 student enrollment.
So I know this year we did 15. How many kids do we actually have interested? Do we have more than what we normally have open?
We did have a lottery this past year. Do you recall how many we had? 45 or so altogether? I would say we usually have between 20 and 25 applications.
The only reason why I mention that is, again, because I'm thinking of the 7th grade being smaller than this current year. But I also am concerned that if we have a high school that can fit 1,000 students and we only have 98, by adding 15, as long as it doesn't affect programs and things like that. Because that's my big thing. One of the reasons why we regionalize is to make sure that we have these programs for our students. So I'm a little concerned that it's to the point where it's not really so much the 5,000 or whatever it is that we get per student. It's more, in my opinion, what programs are we going to be looking at? We're eliminating this, we're eliminating this, where
now we're affecting our students, education-wise. So that's the reason why I'm just trying to do the math in my head, seeing how you and obviously we have to make a motion to participate in the for school choice, or do we have to actually make a motion with the number as well?
Yes, both.
Okay, because I was hoping that we could take some, further back from your administrations.
Now, so the default is that districts are participating in school choice, and Somerset School Committee, for instance, always opts out. So really the motion would be that, yes, we are going to participate, and these are the parameters of it. X number of students entering grade 9.
Go ahead, for sure. Yes, okay, go ahead.
I don't think a smaller teacher to student ratio is a bad thing, but I would be concerned with adding 25 into the incoming freshmen. What does that do for class size? And does it make it harder for kids to get what they're looking for electives and different things if we do go up that many?
Well, if we compare, you can just say freshman classes today to what it would be next year, 262 now to 230 or so. That could result in potentially one less section of Algebra 1, one less section of English 9, U.S. history, or it could potentially be the same classes same number of classes we have now, and then the class size just drops by a couple of students. We have to see how students, what they're requesting for classes, and then just how that fits in. I don't think it's necessarily with freshmen. There aren't a lot of elective taken early on. I don't see it as a really big
This
impact.
is one of the biggest classes, the freshman.
This freshman class is a lot.
Big one, yeah.
With Conley closing, do we have any projection that we're gonna see?
I was told there were only a handful of students from Somerset who were attending Bishop College, very few. And I think the diocese was looking to send them to Bishop Stanley. At least the information that I requested from the diocese, I was told that there weren't many students. But I'm sure they will be considering, do we go to Bishop Stanley, do we go to Somerset Berkeley, what are the other options? I saw a hand go up, so I think there's a comment here with that
Yeah.
specific concern.
Question, just, this is limited to freshmen, and historically, we've always limited it to freshmen.
The first year or two, it was open to students in grades 9 through 12, and we found that the upperclassmen who were coming at that point, they tended to be escaping situations, and they overall, generally, they had a negative impact on the school. By limiting it to freshmen only, they become part of the community right away when everyone is coming together, and there are always ups and downs, as there would be with Somerset and Berkeley students as well, but they really they become part of the school community right away, and I think it's an added benefit.
And if I could, I also had heard in the past when they asked the question before, was that we know the student right from day one, where we are able to measure and make sure that they meet their high school requirements instead of coming in and then trying to catch up, or they're so far in advance that they're now not being challenged anymore or something like that. So that was one of the reasons when we first went back to a freshman. That was one of the other reasons.
That makes sense. I was just wondering if it there any instances where if a student moved out of district, sophomore, and moved out and stay?
That does happen from time to time, particularly if, so they have been with us since the freshman year. If we went through the lottery and then we called people back, and they were no longer interested, then sometimes we've allowed the student to flip to school choice, since they were with us
Because
since
they're,
grade 9.
even if they're not the freshmen. So
Right.
I know it's not.
But they have to start here as freshmen.
They started in spring. And if you've already exhausted the.
Yes.
And you know, we have, Berkeley is school choice at the elementary school. So there are incoming freshmen who are not part of this 15, who are already moving to the school from other communities because, or am I saying that correctly?
Berkeley Middle is projecting one of their school choice students to be coming to us next year. And they would be considered one of the 15.
Oh, they are? They are. So we essentially have 14 additional spots.
Right, I didn't count them in the number that, I kept them separate, that one student separate.
Close the public hearing.
Oh,
Public
no.
input, or input within the, I see input is next, I don't know if it was within the hearing. Okay. Public input, questions?
So, question about the school choice, which is why we're here. I know that you guys limit it to incoming freshmen only. Would you consider opening it up to an incoming sophomore who is leaving, or not by choice, but leaving Bishop Common?
If we wanted to open up a seat, it would have to be advertised to anyone, and if there would be more than the one application, there would be a lottery. So we cannot handpick or identify what students are coming in. It's always a blind lottery.
So basically it won't be open to anybody other than incoming freshmen.
Correct.
Are there any other questions?
So are you not?
So I'm saying, yeah, this is my granddaughter, so she goes to Connie, she's in the theater, she's all there, so she'd be an asset to the school system if she was allowed to attend as a sophomore. She cannot, is there a lottery coming up for that condition? Or
Is there a what for that coming up?
is there a lottery coming up for the Bishop County kids that choose to go to Somerset?
There is not, no. I mean, just
There's no motion that can be done to open that up.
the school committee can always,
We have a student here that wants to go to Somerset.
right, but it would be open up to anyone. We
That's
can't,
fine.
right.
We understand that, but you can't, it seems right now they're denying it to everybody. I'm saying, well, let's open it up. We're talking about, student enrollment going down. She's an asset. She's an honor student at Conley, in the theater, a perfect asset to Somerset High School. So I was asking you, consider it.
I mean, I think that, of course, the school would benefit from students like that. But if we look at enrollment and trying to manage the different classes, the sophomore class next year is going to be our largest class already, 262. So I think that that's the thing, that's the tension that's making it difficult. That's what I would say. And I agree with Superintendent's philosophy in really keeping a very careful eye on the growth of, potential growth of school choice. We don't want to make it something that we rely on more than, as a funding source, too much. I think that you've been managing it really well. When we think about class sizes and the ability to pick classes, I think that all has to factor into each year. As much as it would be great to open it up to other students, that's our largest, the sophomore class is our largest size.
Well, and also, even if she doesn't apply, it doesn't guarantee her a spot, because it would be a lottery too. So if there's 30 students and there's only 15 slots.
Well, we would have to, if there was anything for an upperclassman, we'd say that there would be 1 seat, 2 seats in grade 10, 0 seats in grade 11, 1 seat in grade, I mean, you specify the number of seats
But when
per
you-
grade level.
But once you do that, it's not just Bishop Conley.
No, it's any-
Right,
yes,
it's
right.
location that
Yeah.
it is, because it's not as one of those things where we can, if we did,
Yeah.
then that would cause it.
Well, yeah.
That would
yeah.
become a
Yeah.
child, well, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that. So it's there.
And we have to specify per grade level, or can we, okay.
Yes.
Well, I'll be the contrarian and say, I understand it's the biggest class, because my son's in it, and I understand enrollment management, but also, the school closed, and I feel bad about that, and folks are here, it's 1 seat. There's no, if people understand that there's no guarantee that the folks who are here would necessarily get that seat, is one, and I get precedent, but I also feel like if people are here, I don't know.
So you're saying just add 1 seat to the sophomore class?
And
see if the
understand
lottery
it's, I mean, it's a gamble, like, so there's no guarantee, right? But we could do nothing, we can't, from the principle of enrollment management, we can't open up the floodgates and say, like, 15 seats for a sophomore class, right? We couldn't do that. But, I don't know, the mom in me is like, but what's the real big downside of opening one? It might not work out for this family, I don't know that one student was this.
No, I wasn't even thinking we could do it for 1 student. I was
Well,
thinking it
one
was have to
student.
be 15.
It could
So
be
you
any
can open
number.
it for any number.
It can be any
Yeah.
number, right? I know it's a little unconventional, but I don't know.
So if we did say for 1 student, I mean, this young lady clearly is somebody we want here, but to Mr. Skiller's point, what if she doesn't get in? And we get somebody that's trying to get out of some other situation.
Well, that's the choice. I mean, if you participate in that program, you can modify it, whatever, but my kid's enrolled in it, sometimes he's bratty, and I'm not sure, you know. I mean, right? Like,
Same
I don't-
way your child could not.
both of them, actually, I shouldn't distinguish, they're both bratty. And, you know, on any given day. So, I don't know, I understand that it's, I don't think we can advocate for a whole lot, and we can't promise a seat to anyone, and yes, it's a lottery, but I also feel like it's 1 seat. And it potentially could work out really nicely for a family that came here, and it might not, but I don't think it's going to put an undue burden on us.
I have a question. Because what if, well, say we did that, and then we pull the lottery or however that works, but then other folks from Conley were like, oh, we didn't know this was an option, my kid's a junior, my kid's a senior.
Well, we vote tonight, it's a public hearing, so we have to decide tonight on participation in the program, and we decide tonight on who this ones. I know that the clearer, easier, I don't know, ways to say we've always done. And I'm not, I defer to the superintendent.
I'm gonna ask,
It's fun stuff.
I'm gonna ask another school committee member what they feel.
I'm sorry, I've really been antsy. I've been having a lot of thoughts in my mind, but I didn't know if I was allowed to put my input in.
You are an
Yeah,
active
you're on the
member of
committee.
our committee.
I really like school choice. I think some of the best people I know in my grade are from Case, DR, Westport. I was just thinking about how Mr. Machado recommended upping the number from 15 to 25. And you had just brought up the point of what about the other kids from Conley, the other grades? What would be the possibility of saying, all right, we're going to do the 15 for the incoming freshmen, and then you do 2 seats in the sophomore class, 2 seats in the junior class, 2 seats in the senior class. And you say there are 2 seats for each of these grades that are open to obviously anybody, but I think it would kind of be more directed at kids coming from Conley who don't really have, you know, anywhere else to go. I mean, I know that was just what was going through my head, but I know there are a lot of other things that I don't know how it goes into it, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but.
No, we'll take what you say. No salt required.
And I think your experience is really important for us to hear, that the school choice program to date has added value. And you have firsthand knowledge of it.
Can I ask a question? Do you know how many kids in my grade are school choice? Because I can only think of like 3 or 4.
About 15 years.
Is it really? I can't think of that many kids that maybe I just didn't realize they weren't from Somerset or Berkeley.
Because you're all Somerset Berkeley.
Yeah, that's the thing, like other than the 3 kids that I said, like DR, Kingston, Westport, I didn't even realize that most of these kids didn't live in this area, either from Somerset or Berkeley, because we all are kind of just, you know, like except for when one of my friends is like, oh, gotta go home because I gotta go all the way to Westport. I don't even realize that they're not part of our community. That's just my kind of experience with it.
If I can just say, you know, it's funny you mentioned that because I was doing math in my head about like the 248 to bring it. Are we able to upperclassmen only? Are we able, as a school committee, to make a motion that because of a closure of a school, we're giving students from that school alone the opportunity to apply? Because obviously this is something that's been very painful since the day it was first announced. And the sad thing about it, I actually know 2 students who went through the whole registration system to go into their freshman year and find out that they can't, you know, which kind of is, but I don't know if that's even possible as well, because, but if it is, that would be a good way to have that understanding, but when Abby was speaking, I was actually thinking of the same thing, because when I was looking at 248, I was saying, all right, 2 for the senior class, 1 for the junior class, upcoming junior, to make it to 235, and 3 for the upcoming sophomore class that would make it to 265. I'm just trying to make it whole numbers. I was thinking of something like that. And then for the freshman class, I still think, because it's such a small number this year, I think we should go at least 20, because I think we're going to end up having a senior class that could possibly be under 200 at some point. You know, and that to me, that's a very, you know, and I'm looking at our building of 1,000, and this has nothing to do with the 5,000, you know, 10 extra students, that's $50,000 more revenue. It's more about, I would hate to see programs get to the point where our class, the school is now only 900 students after 4 years, and we're removing core items out of our school. That's what's keeping me, well, that's what's struggling with me, and so.
I remember when we first started, I don't think we were restricted to.
We can't,
If we could, that would
be
be.
something, because I would love to entertain that one
Yeah.
segment, even still a lottery, you know, they could be 12 students for
Right.
only 3 positions, but I'm just thinking, but I also know at one point I reached out to, I reached out to Case because I knew a Somerset student, and now my daughter was interested in being a school choice there, and then I'm participating in school choice anymore as well. They eliminated it completely. So, which I wasn't aware of at the time. Case doesn't participate in school choice anymore. So,
So let's just go over, the current freshman class is 262.
262.
I write down numbers 262. I appreciate the point too, that especially with upperclassmen, there's also the the integrating into the community, there's less time integrated into the community on the quality of the kids or anything like that, but, you know, but I sort of, in my brain, I break the high school universe into freshmen and sophomores and juniors and seniors, just that's how I think about it. And, I mean, at 262, and I know it's a big class, but I'd be inclined to, I like if Mr. Schoonover is comfortable with it, I like Mr. Machado's proposal of maybe moving to 20 for the freshmen, and I like that round number, so could we open 3 spots for the sophomores and just do that?
I'm fine with that as well, because the other thing, when you were talking, I was a little concerned about high school graduation requirements as well, because these are students that are going to have to meet our requirements, and this is something that our principal may bang her head in a couple of days because of that reason. Now she's gonna have to, you know, is it prorating or like community service? No, it's gonna be 20 hours, but if that's something that you feel comfortable, I would feel comfortable going to 20 and 3 at that point, but that's only if you feel comfortable. And if it's 15 only, I'm gonna support your decision, so.
Well, with that, and that's the reason why I called Dr. Brosford yesterday about this, because I was torn between 15, 20, up to 25. And just, I don't want to be a district, like I said earlier, to repeat myself, but just over-relying on school choice. But as Abby said, and Mr. Bryan said, I think I was just looking at the list of current seniors. I think we have 2 school choice students in the top 10. And it happens like that year after year. So like and not to say you have to be in the top 10 to add value, but I mean, it's just like they come and they enter our school and you don't know who's a school choice student and who's not. And because they just become part of the fabric. You know, with allowing sophomores, I certainly would keeping the number small for this 1 year. Not going above that, because that, based on history, that would not be a wise decision. I couldn't recommend that, but we could try that for next year.
Would you recommend 15 or would you go to 20?
We can go up to 20. And then the following year, obviously, we'll be back here looking when we only have 167 or 130 or so students coming out of Somerset Middle and 50 or 60 coming out of Berkeley Middle. And now we're, you know, even if we go with 20 again, we're only going to get 200 students, 210.
We may have to have a couple of years like that and then look for a different solution, look at a more holistic solution.
I think next year we have to look at the K-8s from both districts and really try to, because we have it obviously for it. I'm sure, you know, we'll get it from Berkeley with one phone call and really do that might actually be like let's get a subcommittee together and really, and you know how I feel about subcommittees, but that's something that's going to be really, and I'll even volunteer for that one because I love doing that. But
if we add a big school choice next year, and then the following year we can't, that funding goes away. So that's why like it has to be, you have to look at it from all angles. So I think what you're proposing, Madam Chair, the superintendent agrees. I think that's a reasonable. It's pleasing that people want to come to this school district.
And if I could just add one more point back to what you were saying about looking at the larger picture and projecting long term, I'll just call up the inner Mr. Pierce. With Diamond expanding, Bristol Plymouth expanding, Bristol Aggie just having their expansion, we don't know what the impact is going to be on the high school's enrollment as they expand their enrollments.
Yeah.
So that is definitely going to pull more students away on top of declining enrollment in towns, in the suburbs, everywhere.
Yeah.
So is there any other comments on the public hearing? So I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on school choice.
so moved.
Second. Motion is second, all those in favor? Sorry, moved by Mr. Machado, second by Ms. Gagliardi. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. So the next item on the agenda would be the 2023-2024 school choice participation vote. I would entertain a motion to continue to participate in the school choice program for the 2023-2024 school year and to have 20 slots available for incoming freshmen and 3 slots available for incoming sophomores.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Machado, seconded by Ms. Gagliardi. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Good luck.
Thank you, everybody.
The next item on the agenda is the student representative for sports. Ms. O'Brien.
So, I feel like I've been here a while. I have a few things to talk about that are, just good things going on around school. But first, I wanted to touch upon something that is really a prevalent conversation anytime we have our student advisory committee, and that is the situation with the bathrooms at school. It comes up every time we have a discussion, and we understand there's been vandalism, there's an unbelievable amount of vaping and drugs being used in the bathrooms, and abusal of the facilities. But a lot of students now feel like the whole school is kind of being punished for the actions of a few, because at least one bathroom on every floor is closed, to the point where, I'm not kidding, I get up to go to the bathroom during class and I'm gone for probably about 10 minutes because I walk to one bathroom and it's closed, and then I walk to another bathroom and all of them are full, and then I have to go to another one, oh, that one's closed too. And it takes away from class time, definitely. And I'm sure there are other reasons why they're closed other than just that. I know I've been hearing jackhammers the last 2 days in one of the boys' bathrooms. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in there, but I'm sure there's,
I don't even know.
maybe I'm hearing things, but I just wanted to bring it up because people need to use the bathroom, and it's just a little bit difficult sometimes in the school, especially when it's definitely a minority of people that are abusing the bathroom, and anybody else who really just needs to go do what they have to do, it makes it a lot harder for them, whereas the kids who are, vaping, smoking, whatever they're doing in the bathroom, they're still going to find ways to do it. Even I feel like the solution in place is not one that's stopping anything from happening. It's just making it harder for the larger population of students. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. I know there's a lot of kids who are a little upset about it. And just a few more lighthearted topics. Spring sports are well underway by now. All of our teams are doing good. Shrek the Musical was, I believe, last week. I want to say. I didn't get a chance to go, but I have heard great reviews from everybody. I've heard it was phenomenal, which is awesome. AP exams begin next week, which is a very stressful time for anybody who takes an AP class. They go from next Monday, or this upcoming Monday, to next Friday the 12th. Next Friday the 12th is also prom. Very exciting. It's at a new venue this year. We're at the Wyndham Newport Atlantic Resort, which we've had at Gillette the past 3 years, I want to say. So, a different venue. It's Midsummer Night's Dream is our theme, which I think is very fun. Yes, and then this Monday, along with the start of AP exams, is also decision day for all seniors. So all of us will be wearing our shirts for the schools that will be attending, and everybody has to make a final decision, which is very difficult for a lot of indecisive 18 and 17-year-olds, but That's pretty much all I have.
Questions? Because I've had the pleasure of sitting in on the student advisory groups, and that problem does come up every month.
Every month.
So I'm wondering if, I think we should reach out to Mr. Tower maybe and Dr. Busford to get an update on what issues are construction or repair related. And then I know at one of the meetings, the last meetings, Dr. Busford talked about they are looking to have rolling desks so that people can move around a little bit more and at least have more presence in the hallway to open up those things. So just maybe we could get a report, or even if there was a little more of a task force that looked at what are other ways that we can address it, because I hear it every single time. Bathrooms.
It's the bathroom. Every month it's the bathroom.
I feel like that's every year though.
It-
My daughter was a senior last year and I feel like we have that issue. I think it's an ongoing issue because of, the nature of.
But I think the last couple of conversations have been, but it's affecting all of us and not addressing the issue. So maybe we can fix it. Because I don't know the answer.
At the beginning of the year, the conversations were more focused around, oh, we can't use the bathroom without being bombarded by a group of kids in the bathroom, not using it for the bathroom purposes. That was the kind of the discussion at the beginning of the year. And then the vape detectors were installed. We started using e-hall pass, so that kind of alleviated some of that problem. But now the discussion has more turned to, we can't use the bathrooms without it becoming a 15-minute excursion. So.
And maybe it's the damage that you addressed that's causing some of it. I don't know. That's probably the
I've always come to realize something. When there's an issue in either our work life or our schools or anything like that, the people who are making the decisions, like, even us, we're not in the building, so we're not experiencing. Obviously, I hear it from my daughter as well. And obviously, I receive the emails from our superintendent and things like that. So obviously, there are some issues of vandalism, vaping, all that other items. But I'm going to throw it back to our students because, last year they had the civics program, they had all these issues and they find solutions. And I'm just wondering, what are some of the solutions that some of the students have been thinking about? Because that might be the answer right there, because we're not the ones who are walking around the building for 15 minutes looking for a restroom. Or, I hate when I'm waiting 5 minutes to use my office bathroom. So I can only imagine how it is when you really need to go and you're running around the school. So I was just wondering, what are some of the solutions that some of the students have mentioned, if any?
So I know at our meetings, at least, we talk a lot about kind of like that task force and we have a hall monitor currently, but kind of reassessing the what that means, or kind of increasing the responsibility of that person, maybe adding more people, but obviously it's like a budgeting thing. I don't want to overstep my boundaries, but just when you have kids who are going into the bathroom and the hall monitor sees them a group of kids going into the bathroom, and then there's smoke coming out of the bathroom and nothing's being done about it, that's when, that's why the bathrooms are closed. That's why problems are arising. So I think a lot of the kids just say if kind of that supervision was upped, that's where you would maybe hopefully see a decrease in the problems that are causing us to then have to all deal with the repercussions of it.
All for the task force.
I think this is a problem that pretty much everywhere. I know it's not unique to Somerset Berkeley students, and I work in a place where I think we've tried almost everything, and it's still an issue. And so at the end of the day, it's not an easy fix. But there aren't a lot of bathrooms in this building. There's not a ton. It's only enormous thickness, but. And I know sometimes the singletons get tied up for a really long time. So that number even shrinks itself, right?
Because there's 6, 3 of them are closed, and then the 6, like, on 2 on each floor. 3 of them are closed, and the single use are very hard to come by most of the time. So it's really about 3 with 3 stalls in each of them.
So I don't want to micromanage, but I would say that I think we need to have access to bathrooms. That's not a controversial statement. Thing that it should be. And I know and I understand why that's going, that leaves other things that need to be solved and they're not easy. But it's like yelling at the class when it's just, and that's a human need. So, I don't know, that's just sort of, what you're saying very much resonates, it's not an easy fix. But if we have to err on the side of one or the other, err on the side of having access to bathrooms, it's the perfect exact situation. Maybe we can explore other ways to try to manage that. I'm sure people are working very hard on it. If it were easy to fix, it'd be done, so I know people are working really hard on it, but I'm hearing a lot more of it. So whatever's going on, it's sort of like, it's getting to the kids who are really just trying to use their bathrooms, so. I don't know if we can sort of bring that back and if a resource is needed, if the committee is open to hearing a proposal or, what is needed, speak on behalf of everyone, recognize it's simple but complicated problem. We need to dedicate the resources to it. Let's try to figure it out.
If I could just add, at the most recent student advisory committee meeting, there were several students who were talking about conversations they've had with students who are addicted to vaping and who were saying they wish they weren't, but they're stuck. So then there's certainly some educational piece to that too. And I think it's a larger picture. You talked about like the anti-smoking campaign that happened, at least I'll say when I was younger, and like, when we were in school, I would say, generally, bathrooms were just filled with cigarette smoke, right, all the time. And then that disappeared pretty quickly until vaping came back. But it was such a massive campaign. You couldn't go anywhere without seeing ads or, print, video, whatever. So that might have to be like that vaping thing. It's beyond Somerset Berkeley. And I have had a couple of parents reach out to me also just saying, my kid is struggling, what can we do? Is there something we can do? So I have a few of those contacts. We're going to try to put some heads together and see if there's a local campaign that we can create. Like, what can we do here?
One of the things we threw out was referencing the effectiveness of that campaign, because smoking among young people has to use. So we kind of need the same thing. So as a school committee, what can we do? And I think, Mr. Machado, you brought this up before. We start considering, and we're not going to do it at this meeting right now, putting some kind of resolution together that we might propose to MASC that advocates for more statewide action that would push resources towards prevention and treatment, or lobby to get a similar campaign. Because the problem is big, and it goes, but as a school committee, maybe that's something we can try to address with other school committees.
Bring grandpas back to school. Volunteer basis.
Yeah, to attack it from all ends, right? Prevention and intervention.
I do want to just congratulate you once again, being accepted to Princeton. I think that's obviously mom's glowing over there and all, but it's outstanding, and we hope you great 4 years over there as well.
Appreciate that.
Is this your
No,
last
May.
name? May, okay,
Don't rush it.
Do you have the Princeton shirt for decision day?
I do. I have a sweatshirt, I have a t-shirt, and a long sleeve. So depending on what the weather is, I've got it all set.
We spent a lot of money
We
there.
did.
Most expensive sweatshirt,
Thank you so much. Anything else in the student rep report? The next item on the agenda is to consider approval of the HOSA FHP International Leadership Conference in Dallas, Texas, June 21 through June 24. Mr. Talbot is here to give us some information.
So this is the first year that we competed at the State Leadership Conference. We had a good number of kids place in the top 3 spots for the state. We have provided some information ahead of time, but we had 23 attendees at the state conference, and then of those attendees, we had we had 3 teams placed in the top 3, and then we had 5 individual competitors top placed within the top 3. So what happens with that is if you get in the top 3 in the state, you're able to, or you're eligible to compete in the International Leadership Conference. In this case, it's down in Texas. But then you could also bring other team members with you to participate in the different workshops and networking and stuff. So I'm just approaching you. I had reached out to Dr. Brosford. I reached out to Mr. Schoonover just to ask, feedback about taking the kids down there. And I'm just looking for permission to move forward with, the planning stuff and booking. And I just want to clarify, HOSA is health occupation student programs for future health professionals. So this goes along with biomedical science and digital health.
Is this after school is done already?
Yes.
It is, I was gonna say, I thought the date was after school.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, so it's not going to conflict with anything.
I'm excited that our kids are getting to participate in this, right?
I just want to scream, I think in the information, it looked like there was a registration fee, was it $90?
Yeah, so it's $90 for the national organization, $10 for the state. So all total, it's $100 registration fee.
Per student.
Yes.
And then the other costs are the travel and accommodation.
Yep. So when I was looking up to pre-book hotels and then, just searching flights online, it's about going to be $1,500 per student. We had 3 students commit, and then the other, there's about 12 other students that said they were interested in someplace. So that's why I reached out to a female chaperone who's willing to go, but we don't really know the definite number. I can't, that's why there's no ratio put out there.
Do you think if you got approval tonight, would you have any opportunity to do fundraising to offset costs for some of those students?
I mean, I would definitely be for it, to help. I mean, because my own bill too, so I know the Education Foundation reached out over vacation, but I wanted to wait until I contacted them just to see, what you guys have to say.
Mr. Chair, can I ask how our competitions lines looking?
not sure what else is remaining, has to be done for the rest of the year, but it's in a favorable position.
I'm wondering if the committee, first of all, step one was just to approve the trip, but step two, it would be a very modest contribution, but I don't know if we should perhaps consider at least offsetting the registration fee for all of the participants, so that it's a little bit, but maybe it's also recognition of their hard work and support. So perhaps if that could be provided with some support from the foundation or resources.
So I have a question too. So in the information, the 1,400 does not include food meals,
It does not
correct?
include
So that would be an addition. So
Correct.
we want to make sure kids are prepared. I mean, can you imagine if someone goes down there and it's $100 for, food for, so if we have something with that.
And of those 12, those 5 students that can compete, are they encompassed in those 12 or those 12 additional on top of 5?
So not all the placing competitors were, shooting tests and going down,
Okay.
but there's of the ones that are in there, a lot of them are represented. I want to say of the ones that placed, I have 2 or 3 that didn't show interest in going to the international.
I would be in support of at least covering those costs. I know that a few years ago, there was a DECA trip where there was some confusion as to how food costs were going to be covered by districts or not things that were part of, but maybe hopefully, like, if you had to come back to us, I would say at least I would agree with Madam Chair that we cover the registration fee that goes from here. And then hopefully the foundation can help. We should be very clear to these students that they've got to need resources.
Yeah.
I just know that in the past that was available, pay for those meals and how that gets charged.
So to be a realist, I mean, after the competition, the kids were really excited about going to the international. So I gave it a couple of weeks before I surveyed them, let it die down a little. And because I want to be blunt, like, hey, this is, a school that won last year from Westford Tech. They were helping, give advice on how to book and stuff, but she's like, you need to, put it out there that it's all on them kind of thing. And, so, in the survey that I sent the kids before vacation, I was very blunt with, this is the amount that the students paid last year. So, and then when I told them that I was going to go in front of the school committee tonight, I again said, the guesstimates are this range right here, so.
Yeah, and I know we want to there's an equity issue here, so and I think that the school administration is pretty good about making sure that if someone has the interest in going, is qualified to go, but doesn't have the resources, hopefully we can find it. And maybe, that assistance can go to covering the larger costs, so then maybe they're only a small number. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would hate for somebody to say, I'd love to go, but,
Yeah.
questions? So, how about we try this? So how about I would entertain a motion for members of the Somerset Berkeley Regional High School's Health Occupation Students of America, Future Healthcare Professionals, to attend the International Leadership Conference June 21st through 24th, 2023 in Dallas, Texas, and that Dr. Browsford approve of the student to chaperone ratio. You got that first? So moved. Motion in a second. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. I make another motion that we authorize that we would cover the expenses for the registration fee for the aforementioned field trip. Let's start with that.
for out of the competitions line item. So moved. Second. Okay, motion by Ms. Gagliardi, seconded by Mr. Machado. All those in favor? There is, if, as this progresses, if you get news from the foundation, or if you feel like you need to come back to us, our next meeting is May 23rd, and we will be happy to meet with you again. That would be helpful. Mr. Spinelli,
I have just
you wanted to say something?
a question or concern. We just had students who returned from DECA, from the international conference there. Did the district pay for their registration? I just want to make sure I think we should be fair to all of our students. And if they did pay out of pocket, then I think that would be equitable.
Should we need a motion to do
I-
that?
I would, let's get information and bring it back.
Okay.
Because I don't even know what the registration is.
Yeah, I don't know if they paid, but if
And there was a smaller number of students.
Yeah.
right?
2 or 3.
Two, yeah. Two. So, I think that's valid. We're gonna get it. Yeah.
For clarification for the motion too, it's $100 per student, 90 plus the 10 for the registration. Okay. So if he has 10 students or 12 students, it's easy math.
Yeah.
If I need help with math, I'll check.
One second. Hold on. Yeah, I kept on saying 504.
Thank you. Congratulations. Fabulous work.
You know, one thing I do want to say on behalf of the students is they competed against a lot of vocational schools that specialize in this. And maybe a lot of them had to, like, when you're training, I'm like, hey, you have to go find out on your own. You know, like, I'm not an expert on everything. So, like, you know, some of the kids that made first place, second place, third place, it was like, you're really so proud of them because it really came from their own research and work. And I thought it was really fantastic that they were up against peers that have special training and they still do very well. So I think it's a compliment to our kids.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the 23-24 school calendar.
I don't know if there were any questions on the calendar, if you want me to provide some highlights. This is, I understand, that this is a late approval of our calendar as well, but we try not to do it equally, but here we are.
So I see, so
Is this the process?
Yeah.
So if I'm reading this right, so the first day, Wednesday the 30th of August for all students, but the freshmen would stay for the full day,
Yes.
and grades 10 through 12 would be released.
And, yes, so by contract, just, the earliest day that teachers can come back is the 25th of August. We have another part of our contract that says that before Labor Day, there will be no school on Fridays. So it takes the 25th out. So the 28th is the first day that teachers can return, so we've got the 2 PD days, staff training days, the 20th and 29th. Kids come in on the 30th and 31st, and then they have the 4-day week next week. And that, we followed that same protocol, that same process for the last few years, and it seems to work out really well, where it's a nice transition for kids. They come in for 2 days, they come in for 4 days, they come in for 5 days. What threw us off just a little bit this year is, for the high school, March 5th is the primary election day. So there isn't, so we really need to have another day off. Another day for students off. So we have 184th day for teachers on March 5th, along with the 2 days in August and the day in November. The teachers are here for the contractual 184. It left us with 180 days for students, and we'd like to have some transitional day for students. Ideally, freshmen would come in for 181 days, and grades 10 through 12 would be 180, and 3 professional days for teachers. But it wasn't in the cards this year, so we were debating, do we have everyone come in on the 30th? And then Dr. Brelsford suggested that we do it this way and we keep freshmen, so there's some transitional thing just for them. It's the first time we've done it that way, so we'll see how it goes. As Mr. Machado was just noting, because for whatever reason we started around the same time this year, it is a leap year. The graduation is projected to be May 31st. It will be the first graduation in May, which is really the same Friday as this year, but the way the calendar falls, plus the extra day in February, it lands on Friday the 31st. And the last day of the 180th day for students is Wednesday, June 12th.
I just have a quick question. When is the primary day?
First Tuesday in March, the 5th.
First Tuesday.
Presidential
I
Super
have just
Tuesday.
a question about the plan for the early release. So we provide transportation twice that day?
Yes.
So 10 through 12 and then an afternoon.
Yes.
It seems like a pretty good, I mean, you can debrief the kids at the end of the day.
Right.
Right? How was your morning?
Right.
So,
Right, and then it's coming in and then letting them experience the first half of the day and, okay, how do you feel? What can we answer? And actually, we sort of did that this year too. It was on a totally separate day. They came in and then it was also because of elections. And it worked well, so there was some positive feedback from students about that.
And I'm going to throw a curveball. Have you ever thought about the opposite? Students coming in first and then it's a late stop for the upper classroom?
We didn't. Yeah,
Just thinking, you
Because they
know,
get the schools for yourself.
yeah.
So it's not chaos with everybody.
that doesn't affect the calendar. but
No, it
just-
doesn't. I'll go that way, Dr. Grossman. Yeah.
Because essentially they came in with everybody last time, and then they had a day all to themselves.
Right.
afterwards. So this was trying to mimic the other one.
Right.
Yeah. But you bring it.
Not at all.
True.
so the X, under the snow days, the X is Juneteenth.
Correct.
The only thing I bring this up all the time, you know, because I wish we would know Jewish holidays on our school calendar. I would maybe they're in other places and I know that they're, but I just, I, you know, maybe not even limited to those, but I wish, I think it's a good reminder to avoid scheduling significant events on, you know, high. It is, especially since is March 29th, Good Friday.
It is.
That's just my sort of thing. I don't know, I feel like we mark Good Fridays are 100% religious holiday off. I understand that it's a long-standing tradition, but that's a suggestion going forward. I wish we just knew it somewhere. Okay.
Not just that, a couple other big ones.
Right.
Because I know Abby's in the class meeting, there was a test, there was something big happening that was coinciding with what they were celebrating, which was cut short to do whatever, you know, to be prepared. So I agree with 100%. I think the bigger ones that we think the families might be celebrating should probably be there.
Yeah.
We can add, it doesn't affect the calendar. You're approving
Right.
the school year essentially.
Yeah.
We can go ahead and as soon as that. And the other one, and the way we have it is just obviously no school, we don't identify what the holiday is, but also in October, officially October 9th, state and federal, it's Columbus Day. And a lot of districts have Columbus Day / Indigenous Peoples Day, but Indigenous Peoples Day is not, at least from my research, not a recognized holiday by name by Massachusetts or the federal government. So do we, it was one of those things, do I add it to the calendar and label it that way? But that's not the way that the state recognizes it. So it's just all of those things, and most schools sometimes it's just easier.
Right.
Right. But we can certainly add religious holidays, and we always, when approving the calendar and looking at parent-teacher conferences, attend back-to-school nights in September and parent-teacher conferences in October, we always have to look to make sure that we're not interfering with Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. So we're always mindful of looking at religious holidays, but you're right, you don't denote them on the calendar itself.
Yeah, I just think being explicit
Yeah.
about it also takes a step away from people having to check or, just, and I agree, and same with the Columbus Day Indigenous people. I think we'll rarely go wrong by being expansive or inclusive or sensitive to
Right.
that kind of tradition, so. Any other comments? Okay, and with that, then I would entertain a motion to approve the 2023-2024 school calendar as presented.
So, second.
Motion made by Ms. O'Brien, seconded by Mr. Machado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Next item on the agenda is the annual appointment of the superintendent to the Reeds Collaborative Board of Directors. Start with the motion. So I would entertain a motion that Mr. Jeffrey Schoonover be appointed to serve as the Somerset Berkeley Regional School District's representative on the Board of Directors of Reeds Collaborative in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012 for the 2023-2024 school year. Motion by Ms. Ferrer, seconded by Ms. O'Brien. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted. Mr. Machado, step down. Do you want to know? We could take a moment of personal privilege.
I can wait for you to come back, I'll close this door.
The next item on the agenda, under budget and financial, is the 2023-24 budget discussion. Mr. Clara.
No new information. I think Mr. Schoonover had sent something out last week, just regarding the House Ways and Means budget. It was like it mirrored the governor's proposed budget, so there's no changes to revenue. No new developments as far as the operating budget. So I think what's been approved in the public hearing, we'll move forward with at the town meeting.
Status quo. Okay. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the 2022-2023 Town of Berkeley Assessment Adjustment, and this was related to the Somerset Access Television revenue. And then, so, I don't know, Ms. Charlie, you want me to give the background on that, or would you like to?
So, sure, I can just, as a reminder, the contract with the town of Somerset in Somerset Berkeley Regional School District, there was a revenue source that came to Somerset Berkeley Regional Schools as an offset credit of $80,400. The contract expired in June of 21, June 21. So FY '22, we didn't have that revenue, but we kind of hashed that out, did the distribution of the surplus funds, and we said we were looking at the FY '23 as we came closer to the end of the school year. as of right now, projected surplus within the operating budget to a favorable position. This particular credit back to the town of Berkeley would actually create some equitability for the town of Berkeley, because the town of Somerset is not giving us the 80,000, so proportionately, Berkeley would be receiving a rebate back or a refund, or whatever you want to call it, equivalent to the proportion amount of the 80,000, 20,000 that Somerset's not contributing.
Can you explain that again? So you're taking the 80,000 that we didn't receive,
We didn't receive the 80,000.
which was a credit on the Somerset side. So
Under
they
the
should have
assessment
taken
sheet, that's
80,000.
correct.
And the way that you're determining the amount of the refund for Berkeley, it isn't their percentage of the 80.
It's Berkeley's percentage of their total operating assessment.
I see. So whatever 80,000 was
Times.
of their, of Somerset's, you're gonna take that same percentage and apply it to Berkeley's and refund that.
That's correct.
Perfect.
That's correct. Thank you for asking that question.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying for me.
I had to make sure I got it right. Are there any other questions? Want to approve that? So I would entertain a motion to issue a credit in the amount of $22,217 to the town of Berkeley, which is equal to a proportionate share of the $80,400 in the SATV revenue from the town of Somerset. Second. Motion by Ms. Ferrera, seconded by Mr. Muscatelli. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So voted.
We didn't really cover it, but we could do two ways similar to what we did the last time. There's a credit on their monthly payment or a check from that.
I think
And
in
you
the
can treat
motion
it as
it's
a
an
credit.
issue of credit.
Yeah, I think, and we can try to trace it as a lot of trouble.
Great. Thank
I'll let
you.
Mrs. Elder know when she sends out the next assessment.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda, under budget and financial, is the February and March financial statements.
So I think what I'll do is I kind of need you back to back, and I apologize, I just lost focus on making sure that it wasn't on we should have been on the agenda. So I did give you the month of February, and I gave you the month of March. We did have those conversations when we were going through the budget process anyway, so you knew what the standings were going to be. So I'm going to probably just spend time and review the month of March, because that's the most recent report that's available. I'll give you a very high level of the major areas that I'm monitoring and where we project to look at the end of the school year. Legal services are over a little bit, about $30,000 as I anticipate. The tech admin hardware on page 1, it's over about $98,000. There's a good reason for that. We actually have made investments with touchscreens. We leverage ESSER funds with the touchscreens. We purchased additional, I think 12 additional units. So we're actually putting them throughout the schools. So we made some investments in the technology piece. So that's one of the areas why it's over that line. On page 2, there is a line for, I think it's OT specialist. There's actually a savings in that particular line on page 2. Also for classroom teachers, about $72,000. On page 3, the paraprofessionals, there's also a savings of about $42,000. And for various reasons, these positions could be maternity leave, family medical leave, a position not filled for periods of time throughout the year. So those are for the staffing positions. On page 4, tech-related hardware, what we did, as we've been doing right along through the budget processes, we're making investments in the areas where we don't have to include in the operating budget. We did make an additional purchase for some digital devices for the digital photography class, technology. We looked at also some classroom PCs, we upgraded some of the classroom PCs that are mutually useful, and useful life. And this would have been a good opportunity to kind of get those updated. And I'm just going to remind the school community that when we're talking about technology, we're talking about switches and major investments going on. So if we can pull these, what I call low-hanging fruit, get them done, then we can start focusing on the switches in whatever direction some of that wants to go into. We go in that direction, try to leverage some E-rate funds for those major purchases. So tech hardware is classroom PCs and digital photo PCs. On page 5, special ed out of district tuition. That's an area that we were going through the budget process. I'm actually able to use that line a little bit, so it's readjusted. We know there's going to be a lot of savings of about $100,000 in that line. Page 6, electricity probably be over slightly, maybe somewhere around $20,000. And then the last page, page 8, is out-of-district tuition. And before I go to out-of-district tuition on page 8, you're going to see the debt service payment for principal and interest is one more payment that's due. That'll be paid off. That'll be paid. So there's about $300,000 in principal and interest payments that hasn't been paid yet. It will be paid. But the out-of-district tuition, about a $300,000 savings. As you recall, Mr. Roselli talked about using, and I had mentioned to you also about using circuit breaker funds. Use about $1 million in circuit breaker funds to use some money here. What I will do is plan on doing what I've done each year is prepay some of the out-of-district tuition. You can pay up to 2 months, so I'm utilizing that $300,000 and maybe a little bit more. We'll see what's eligible to be done for the fiscal year. And then the last one would be, it's probably recommended at your next school committee meeting is to maybe transfer additional money to the OPEB fund.
Oh.
I am making some purchases. There's a lawnmower. I think we're going to be looking at purchasing here, some of lawnmower. We did some investment to the baseball field. I just received quotes or bids to renovate the 2 infield softball fields. That's being done. And then planning on looking at what we can do for the outfield for baseball after the season. So I don't have the specs yet ready for that. But there is still it's some wet areas. We've got some recommendations. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get it done within the required time for the ordinance.
Oh, for that 500.
Not for the 500, but no, the outfield, because there was some recommendations that we don't want to dig up the whole field. And we had a turf company come, made some recommendations in doing the infield, and then working to the outfield and looking at, instead of tearing up the whole field, drainage and everything else, a lower investment initially to see if it would, if it would tear up everything. And I think it's anything else, the capital improvements. The year comes quick to the end, especially if I have to go out to bid, so I'm trying to get those items on the purpose.
I don't know if it's really, but since you mentioned OPEB, should we try to schedule a meeting of that trust committee? And look at, I noticed that we got a report in on the new investment master center, so
Yes.
wondering if we should set a meeting with that trust committee and look at your recommendations for additional investments.
I think it may be a good idea, maybe a good time, because as we get close to the end of the year, I know we've had a contract with a company who does our OPEB, but I've also had a conversation with the auditors about looking at a firm that may be more local.
Okay, okay,
So-
and that's up
And
for,
I actually have gone out for requests for quotes.
okay,
So just to kind of test the field a little bit, see what the market looks like as far as what it is. I think we have one more year left on their engagement with NIHOP. I just have to look at that, but that may be a good opportunity to talk about that as well.
all right, so maybe we'll set something up. Yeah, we will call it.
And I know there's various other little projects Mr. School brings to my attention, and I don't disagree with them. The things I'd like to try to make them.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for adding that.
Okay, the next item on the agenda under teaching and learning is recognition of our March Visionaries of the Month. We have Aaliyah Bowie, Independent, Riley Luchaki, Resilient, Patrick O'Donovan, Academic, Maxim Peterson, Empathetic, Aiden Rogers, Resilient and Respectful, Caitlin Rose, Independent, Aiden Sabota, Digital Citizen, and Connor Westerland, Academic. Congratulations to those students. Great job. The next item on the agenda is Somerset and Berkeley Public Schools updates. Mr. Machado.
All right, we had at our last meeting, we reorganized our committee. Mr. Gore is the chair, Mrs. Carville is the vice chair, and fortunately you got Ms. Ferrera back, and unfortunately you got Mr. Machado back. But we were both extremely, we volunteered, we definitely wanted to continue to do what we were doing, so it's great to be back. We did have a public hearing. We voted not to participate, as Mr. Schoonover mentioned. We had our student representative attend. He gave us our report, and we also approved our school calendar, and we also, in fact, appointed Mr. Schoonover to the Reed's Board of Directors as well. The only other thing that we did talk about, we also gave a temporary license agreement for the middle school project to National Grid, but that is basically something that's going to be voted from the town side now. During our 2023-2024, our newest member, Ms. Ashley, she mentioned about a grant writer. It's something that we're probably going to talk a little further. I do know that the town is speaking probably tomorrow night about a joint position. More information will be coming, and I believe, did you send an email to all of us? Yeah, we did. Obviously, we all got an email regarding some of the cost breakout. The middle school, if you drive by there, it's framed. We had the first, and from the first to the last, yesterday was quite an improvement, and I did not have a chance to go by there before coming here, but it is exciting now. Before you know it, we'll be topping off the event as well. That's basically all I had.
So the only other thing we talked about was the drama production.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Singing in the Rain.
Singing in the Rain. And I don't remember the dates. Read the
I want to
Sentinel.
say the 18th and 19th.
Read the Sentinel.
I believe so. I think it's the 18th.
It's the 18th and 19th.
Hey, so yeah, memories are working.
Thank you, Mr. Machado. Ms. Solomon's not here, so all I know, I can report that the feasibility study continues for the Berkeley Community School project. We had a meeting Monday evening. Monday, yeah. Yesterday, we had meetings. And there's pictures of some of the work that's being done to investigate. So that continues. The only other thing I know is Berkeley Town elections May 6th. So we can reorganize ourselves at our next meeting.
That was the other thing for the negotiations committee. Christine and I was the only one that just said that. That's the only thing we do. Kept us calm.
Okay.
Yeah, technically calm. Because it was something that was processed.
Is she contested?
Neither one of us is contested, so already some crazy write-in campaign. I might be stuck with both of us again. And anything can happen. Chickens on May 7th. Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda, topics not anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. what was it?
Food service.
Uh,
Food service bid process.
Oh, right, sorry, thank you. I'm a long week. It's Tuesday.
No, but just one member of Somerset Berkeley will participate in the three, yes, yeah. This will be a joint approval award, but May 4th was set as a tentative date for having the two vendors come.
Right, so it was, and it was just, I don't know if it was Mr. Chow or Mr. Sweeney who sent us the information about that process.
Yeah.
And then I think, Ms. Ferreira, volunteered, and Mr. Machado volunteer.
He partially volunteered, but he wants to do it one day.
Yeah, I
So-
basically responded to Mr. Taro, if I'm needed, I'll be more than happy to, but I didn't want to take it on unless someone who really wanted to be on it would be, but did anyone else volunteer or anybody?
Ferrera did, and Mrs. Culver, I think said she could, but
You just let me know if I have to be.
I'll let you know. But I didn't know if there was
Okay.
something specific just from the region side of things to participate.
We just need one person from the region. What time is it?
Oh, it's during the day,
On the 4th?
yes.
Sign up to do that.
Once again,
Set our confirmation date.
I can do double payment?
Oh, they,
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with that. We're gonna have a joint meeting anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
To go over this, so.
Okay, so
So I don't know if we need
I'll
to-
let you know.
Well, if Chris is doing it, I can't do it. Thanks to- then we-
That's right, they never work.
Yeah, so
Yes.
if Kim doesn't, I can do it.
Okay.
So Ms. Ferrer, if you're willing to do that,
Yep, I can do that.
fabulous, thank you. Follow that. Anything else I forgot, Mr. Chair?
I don't remember.
Okay, good. So action items for future meetings, we're gonna, about, you know, we are going to,
Investment policy.
the investment policy, connected treasurer and the investment policy.
Do we want to update on the annual debt distributions just to confirm?
Yep.
And if we could entertain, I would love to get an update on a topic that's been discussed many times, but I was just wondering if there's any movement for the Thanksgiving game, or what the plans may be, if there are no games, or whatever the case may be. Just so the public knows that where we're at.
Yeah, so that's, there are several other items that we want to do that. Well, as always, if something else comes up, we can just ask that. Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from prior meetings. We only have one set of minutes. It's the open session of March 21st, 2023. Would entertain a motion to accept the open session minutes of March 21st, 2023 as presented. So moved. Motion by Mr. Mosdati, seconded by Ms. O'Brien. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. And then,
Madam Chair, before you go into executive session, I just want to extend an invitation to all of you. May 11th from 9 a.m., probably 8 a.m., I probably wrote it wrong, until, see exactly, 7:45 to 1:45. The Somerset Pathways program. They're Somerset Berkeley's, the high school will be back to PCI. If you do plan on attending, just let me know so I can make sure that we don't have a quorum at any time. But you're more than welcome to actually see the students rotate through all segments. And this year, the schooner will be participating in the arthroscopic surgery, shoulder surgery. So
Another shoulder.
it's going to be a shoulder because talking to Matt, because the students are going to be doing arthroscopic again, so they can actually see what the shoulder will look like. Especially if there's repeating students, they can see what an open procedure and 3 little holes and still get the same accomplishment.
He's determined to have me pass out. That is his goal. He wants me to pass out in front of 65, 75 students.
I'm there. And the camera's on.
Can I just mention, you brought that up, and I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Machado, and Mr. Greenberg for participating in the Chamber and the Mass Association, Mass Business Alliance for Education. They presented very well in Innovation Pathway. So it was a online forum that talked about collaboration between business and school districts. And I think there was some conversation today about it, so it was a great presentation.
And you're more than welcome to invite them as well. Just let them know whoever would like to participate on those days. They're more than welcome to see, how that program, how we're collaborating, how PCI is collaborating with the school as well, and what other schools could probably do with other businesses.
Yeah, right now it's working on the budget competition.
Okay, at this time, pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, well, actually, let me back up. We're going to defer on the agenda there. The first part says pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority or any general or specific law or federal grant and aid requirement. We are going to defer that, and we will discuss that at the May 11th joint meeting. But we are going to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A4, to discuss the deployment of security personnel or services or strategies thereto, and pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Moved by Ms. Ferrera, seconded by Ms. Ramos Galley. Are you ready? Got a roll call? No, we're not into.
Oh, no, we're entering into
Is there
executive.
into? So we can go.
No, you don't think so. It's when we adjourn, get out of the executive session, that's the roll call.
Okay.
Should we do it just
I
in case?
play
Let's just
safe.
do it,
play
yeah,
safe
let's
in
It's not gonna
case.
hurt. Let's do it. I will.
Alright.
Ms. O'Brien.
Aye.
Ms. Ferrera. Ms. Aye. Mr. Machado.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. And the committee will not return to open session.